So before we do any actual shit, I guess what do you think of in terms of like what makes a character good at doubles? Because I've been trying to think through like what's my quick definition of what makes a character like top tier at doubles.
I feel like the tiers for doubles need to be like their roles, like Fox can do everything,
Yeah. So the
but
way
Zelda's a good support, but like sucks as the lead.
Yeah, that's literally how I was thinking of doing it. So the way I made one of these the other day, just to kind of think through the concepts, and I feel like it's like S tier is like just good at everything. Like they can fill any role. They're good with every team comp. Like you never have to worry about like, oh, I'm teaming with this character. Will this work? Um,
Yeah.
and then it's
Yes.
like
Agreed.
you are really good at one thing, whether it's like support or approaching and breaking, kind of pressing space or whatever, but you're like pretty mediocre otherwise, or you're like you know good at you're like okay at everything. I think Squirtle is an example of someone who's like he's okay at everything. He's just not like really good at like anything in particular in doubles. He's just all around like solid. So that's kind of how I've been conceptualizing it. So yeah, I'm gonna get into it. I think just like so that I was talking about, the tiers in doubles are weird because there's so many different roles that characters can play, and there are two things that are important. Number one is their ability to do something well, whether that's approaching and being able to get in versus two characters, or supporting someone who's doing that, or anything in between. If you're good at that, you will be good at doubles. But at the same time, if you have two characters that are only focused on and only good at doing that, they're going to struggle because they're not versatile. They're not able to kind of change up what they're doing and what their game plan is based on the team comp and the strategy that they're being opposed by. And so the two things that are really important for a character to be good at doubles is to be good at whatever you're good at, whether that's, I categorize it as approaching and support, but it could also be kind of who's taking point or zone breaking or whatever you'd like to call it, and who is playing behind in the traditional sense. The other way that teams can be played is also just two kind of 1v1s or people just kind of scrapping. But I think those types of gameplay in doubles can be summarized by singles tier lists more or less. And so I'm not really going to cover those. I'm going to treat it more as if you're playing a traditional double strategy, this is where your character would end up on the list. So we're going to start off with the easy picks, which are the really broken characters. Where is Meta Knight? Meta Knight is exactly what I'm talking about when I think of a character that is both really good at what he does and really versatile. Obviously, he's a great singles character, and all of his attributes that make him good at singles carry over to doubles. He's fast, he's got good frame data, he's got kill confirms, edge guards, the whole thing. But you add in the fact that now there's 4 characters on the screen, and he's fast enough to not only combo one character, but then immediately get across the screen and cover his teammate or finish a 2v1 or whatever he needs to do. And that makes him even better in doubles because he can manage that chaos really well. And he doesn't, you would think, and I think a lot of Meta Knights do tend to take point because the character has such good frame data and such good approaches, but he's also a really good support character because if you hit his teammate, he's right there with a grab or some other combo setup that immediately gets you off his teammate and potentially sets up into an edge guard. So that's something we've seen Teals do really successfully when he teams with Eudora, where despite Kirby being almost objectively the worst character, Eudora usually takes point and then he has Teals behind him, and that ends up being a really scary strategy because how do you fight Eudora without making it easy for Teals to then hit him? So I think Meta Knight's a really good example of what I'm talking about with characters that are just objectively good at teams in every way. They can play every role. They are really good at both of the traditional roles, approaching and supporting. They zone break really well, etc. Another great example of that is Zero Suit for pretty much exactly the same reasons. I think the rest of S tier is also pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not really going to get into all of them individually. I'm just going to go over the ones that I think stand out from that logic. So once I find him, there he is. Fox, also a great example. And then we have a couple of, I think Sheik is another really good one. ZSS are very broken. I mentioned on Twitter, I'm debating picking up. One of the reasons I'm doing this tier list, aside from being good content and the fact that I think it's interesting, is I might pick up a secondary to help me play different team comps when I do doubles. And CSS is definitely a contender for who I would pick up if I decide to put in the effort to do that. Sheik is also really good. We've seen Sheik kind of traditionally be a more support-based character in Melee, largely because Mewtwo King is really, really campy. But she can also be really good at approaching. She's got great speed, insane frame data, good combos, all that. And having a teammate makes it much harder to rinse repeat her, which is what you need to do to edge guard Sheik consistently. So I think that really helps as well. Wario is next, yeah. So I got these 4 out of the way because they're all traditionally, like, they're fast, they have great frame data, they're all the things you think of. Wario is good for the opposite reason. He's not very fast on the ground, but he can threaten a ton of space in the air because he has some of the best aerial mobility in the game. Actually, the best, followed by Zero Suit, who's also up here. And so Wario is really good for that. He's also, going in line with the rest of his tier, great at filling both roles. The fact that he can basically float around and control so much space with his non-committal aerials makes it really difficult to challenge his teammate without having to interact with him too. And it also means that he can just go in and cause a havoc because he can be anywhere he needs to be pretty quickly when he's in the air. And I think... Oh, Wolf is the last one I wanted to put in this tier. I'm referencing, if I look off the side, I'm either looking at chat or I'm looking at a draft of this list that I made just to kind of organize my thoughts. Wolf also falls into this tier because he's just really good at filling either of these roles depending on what he wants to do. If he wants to camp and zone with lasers, he can do that. But he's also one of the heaviest characters in the game with insane kill confirms off of Shine Flash. And CC Shine is even better in doubles because with so much chaos going on, people are less likely to be thinking about basic counterplay like CC, and that makes it that much easier for you to get your combo started. So, Wolf, broken in singles, just as broken in doubles. The next category is good approach and then mediocre at supporting. So these are characters that are generally going to be taking point in a traditional team comp. The reason why I have this tier over kind of the inverse, which is characters that are good at being behind, is that if you have two support characters, it sucks. And so what that means is that those characters are inherently a little bit limited in the team comps that they're good in. If, for example, you have, like, 2 Toon Links, because I think Toon Link is a great support character, for example. We see it a lot with, like, DVD Envy, Lunchables, Elstorms, etc. Toon Link is a great character in doubles, but if you have 2 of him, but let's say you have, like, Toon Link Zelda, which is another, like, zoning character. What the fuck are they going to do against 2 fast characters? They're going to lose is the answer. And so that's why good approach is above good support for me, because if you have 2 characters that are based around approaching, they're still fine. Like, you could see 2 melee characters doing well in doubles, because those are both characters that, like, can function together. But I feel like most support characters, not all, and we'll get into it, but, and that's the difference between, like, being good at support and mediocre at approach versus, like, good at one thing only, which I think Zelda is a good example of. So I'm just going to move these back here for now, but I think all else equal, the ability to approach in doubles is really important. And so that's why I put that tier above this one, even though they're theoretically equal in terms of being good at one role and kind of okay at the other. I agree, Toon Link is really damn good at holding center. But we'll get there in a second. Yeah, I agree. Zelda can be a really good support. The reason why I'm going to end up putting her low, and I do think she's going to be in that red tier, is because I think that she is limited in terms of what she can do and who she can do it with. I think of a good teams character, if we look at this top tier, they could team with anyone in the cast, or with each other, or whatever, and they would guaranteed have a good team comp. And Zelda is very limited in terms of the fact that for her to be good in doubles, you need to either be hard out playing, or you need, like, very specific team comps just to, like, hold your own. Because if you don't have a very good approaching character to come in for Zelda to be covering for, she's not very good in teams. And I've done a lot of teaming with Zelda in the past. I used to team with Mentor pretty regularly. I think I've teamed with VG at some point. I've teamed with a couple good Zeldas, or, like, solid Zeldas, and also have one myself. And I think she's okay, but I think in a format where almost every character can be very viable, I think she's definitely one of the worst. Assuming that they only play Zelda. Obviously, if you play both Zelda and Sheik, that jacks their versatility up a ton. It would move Sheik, honestly, maybe even higher than she already is. But we're going to treat them as separate characters first. The one character I was going back and forth on, and that I am going to put in top tier, even though I don't think that the tier name, I don't think that Game & Watch falls into this broken tier anymore, but I do think he can play both roles really effectively. He's got kind of everything you would need for a good doubles character in terms of a projectile and good hitboxes to let him control space. Insane combo, both good combo game by himself and also great team combos. He also has a good edge guard, and great offstage game. So he's not going to get gimped, and he can also go offstage really deep to save teammates. The reasons why I don't think he's broken the way that a lot of these other characters are that, one, he's really light, and in doubles when you have a lot of chaos going on, it's more likely that counterplay won't be happening, which means that he's more likely to die to shit like, for example, Fox up throw up at 60. I think that 3.6 Game & Watch is very easily in this tier. I think that P+ Game & Watch is significantly worse than every other character in this tier. If it weren't for the fact that I'm trying to keep this to 5 tiers so that it all fits on my layout, there would be a separate tier below this tier that is just Game & Watch, because I think he's better than this. I think he's still quite good, but I don't think that he's anywhere near as good as these guys. So he's just going to be at the end. He's still very good. The main things that I think he struggles with in P+ especially are, number one, he's very light, which means that he will die early to kill confirms their team combos. And the other thing is that I think he's significantly worse as an approaching character than he was in 3.6, most specifically due to the nerfs to his back air, because back air just eats crouch cancel in 3.6, and the fact that that move doesn't have a landing hitbox anymore makes it significantly worse at approaching, which means that if he's teaming with a character like Ivy, for example, who really needs someone who can approach for her, he's going to have a harder time doing that. The other thing, which Aki just pointed out in chat, being one of the most notable abusers of this, is that they did nerf Game & Watch's bucket, which is a kind of specific team comp. If Game & Watch teamed with a character that had an energy-based attack, so something like, I don't know, Mario Fireball, Ness PK Fire, Wolf Laser, he could bucket that and then turn it into a one-hit KO. That's now a lot weaker, which is still a solid move to have in your arsenal, and if you have that team comp, you should be doing it. But it's not going to one-shot people at 0 the way it was in 3.6, which was absolutely insane, and popularized by Aki and Pikmon, who dominated pretty much they top-8'd pretty much everything they entered. They did really well with that team comp. Okay, so this is the broken tier. That's the easy ones that we got out of the way. The next tier is going to be the ones who are good at approaching and can provide some degree of support, but aren't necessarily great at it. So these are the ones who are either great tanks, good at controlling space for some reason or another, and aren't awful if they're behind their teammate or just not in a position to control the entire stage. I think the classic character that I would put here is, where is he? I think Bowser is really, really good at this because he literally takes up a third of the stage. It's really goddamn hard to get to your teammate when you have a Bowser that's crouching in front of you. And overall, he's just significantly better in doubles than he is in singles because you don't have time to get long combos or edge codes on him. And it is really easy for any support-based character to set up behind Bowser and funnel people into him. Because if somehow you get through him, there's another character just waiting to throw you back into the blender that is Bowser's hitboxes. So I think he's kind of a traditional... if I had to pick an archetype for each of these tiers, it's like Meta Knight is the broken character. And I think Bowser is a great example of a character that is really good at tanking and going in, and can provide some support just by being able to control so much space so quickly if your teammate's getting overwhelmed. And he also does have Fireball every 10 seconds, which is a really good projectile to be able to bring to the table. I think that in a similar vein, you've got Sonic, who is just super fast, decent hitboxes, great frame data. He's really good at going in. He can control basically the entire stage because of how fast he is. even though he doesn't have projectiles, he provides support just by his ability to cross the stage so quickly. But at the same time, like, he's mostly going to be a frontline character, which is what gets him from this tier to this tier. And also the fact that a lot of his combo game is a little bit limited because it takes up more space than some other characters. Like, if you're doing low percent combos with Sonic, you can be doing, like, up throw dares across the stage. And that takes up not only time, but also space, and you have to hope that your teammate is clearing the way for you to do that. So I think it holds him back a little bit. He also can't gimp people nearly as easily as he did in 3.6, which helped him quite a lot, because he could do things like down throw Rascal, up throw dare Footstool, because Footstool no longer exists, and Spring Gimps are also functionally non-existent now. So I think that holds him back a little bit as well. What else falls into this tier? I think DK falls into this tier for kind of a he's kind of a middle range of these two. DK is a lot faster than especially people who don't play a lot of PM realize. He's decently fast, got massive hitboxes, great combo game, and similar to Bowser, he's just a difficult character to play around if you don't want to interact with him. And because of the fact that he can force you to interact with him, he's great for other characters to set up behind. He's got really consistent kill confirms. He's another character kind of like Sheik, who has a vulnerable recovery, but it typically has to get flowcharted over and over again, especially the way it is in P+. And if you have a teammate who's looking out for that, they can really stop you from doing a whole lot of damage to DK, unless you have like a spike or some way to kill him really early. I think that Ike, very similar, replace speed with quick draw, otherwise everything else is the exact same. Who else goes into this tier? I think Mewtwo goes in this tier. I've seen a lot of people think that Mewtwo is bad at doubles. I think this is partially because Fuzz says Mewtwo's bad at doubles, and also because he doesn't do very well when we don't team together. Mewtwo is one of the best characters in the game at causing havoc. I would put him on Bowser tier for his ability to just like show up on screen and immediately everyone has to focus on him because he's just throwing out 8 hitboxes a second. There's a clip out there, I'll put it in the video, of Fuzz literally doing 13 nails in a row in a double set that we won against a top 10 team. Because when you're doing that, the support character for Mewtwo, all I have to do is, once again, similar to Bowser, you just have to kind of funnel people into Mewtwo. Add on the fact that, unlike a character like Bowser, great recovery, pretty difficult to combo, I think that goes a really long way. Falcon definitely goes in this tier. Similar to Sonic, again, it's like overall a good character, but mostly going to have to approach. He provides a little bit of support because he can come flying across the screen and is basically a projectile, but it doesn't get him into this broken tier at all. Let's see. I think that Pikachu definitely belongs in this tier. I think Pikachu is significantly better in doubles than he is in singles. He can cross the stage really quickly with quick attack cancels. The fact that he has up smash lets him kill stupid early, but also the rest of his moves are relatively weak, which would normally be bad, but it sets up for great team combos. And having back throw to move people across the stage, the rest of his throws are godlike combo starters, especially if you have a teammate on hand. I think he's a great case of a character who is mediocre in singles, but the chaos of doubles helps him out a lot just because he has such good frame data. So I think that really helps. Who else? Lucario is actually, I think, quite similar. Lucario is really, really fucking good. I teamed a lot with Boilerman when I was in NorCal and still going to stuff. Just insane character. Like, really good frame data, godlike combos, damn near ungimpable when he has Aura. And then he's great support because anytime you're in trouble, he can burn an Aura Charge and down B and cancel into a smash attack or an up tilt or whatever and just stop whatever is going on. And I think that's really valuable. And also, he's going to get so much more Aura in doubles than he does in singles. So he's going to be able to do things like go for crazy offstage combos, empower Auras, empower Force Bomb, which is his side B, invincible down B cancel, stuff like that. He can get away with that a lot more in doubles because he's pretty much always going to have Aura. So I think he's really good. Of course, belongs in this tier that I'm forgetting. I'm looking at this. Oh, I think Knuckles probably goes in this tier. I will be completely honest about this. I've played against Knuckles twice ever. One of them was like 2 days after P Plus came out, and the other one was like 2 days ago. So I do not know a lot about this character, but from my understanding, he probably belongs in this tier. Good burst movement with glide, which also is great priority because you can do gliding there. Good throw confirms. Decent recovery, especially on walled stages. It's really, really good. And just in general, it's going to be difficult to quickly edge guard him. It takes time and practice to kind of get the hang of that. And you don't have time to flow chart him and kind of force him to go low. So I think that kind of similar to Sonic, except you replace a little bit of the speed with a lot more kill power and team combo potential, but it's still very, very good at doubles. Other characters that belong in this tier, I think there's a little bit of a break after this point, but I do think that Lucas and Roy also belong in here. They're characters that are good at approaching. They don't really struggle to break crouch cancel or find openings. Solid frame data, great kill confirms. Like, they're kind of the traditional, melee characters. Lucas, let's face it, doesn't really have a projectile, and obviously Roy doesn't. So, they are pretty limited to being out front, but they're pretty good at filling that role. So I feel pretty good about this tier. I am going to do some reordering a little bit because I just threw people up as I saw them on the list. To be clear, I think both of these characters are significantly... These characters are like the Game & Watch of this tier in terms of I think they're significantly worse. I don't think that they're bad enough to go down here, which is the alternative, basically, because they're not good enough supports to get in this tier. I don't know. I think these are the ones that are definitely the most open for debate that I've placed so far. But I'm going to leave them there for now. I think that Mewtwo is really good. Bowser, Falcon, Lucario, I think these are definitely the best of this tier in some order. Knuckles is probably better than these guys. I think probably something like this is what I would do. The order, again, it's I'm not really stressing it beyond a couple of places. I think it's this tier and then Game & Watch. I think it's this tier, more or less these four, and then Roy and Lucas. I disagree. Lucas does get blown up, but at the same time, I think that having someone else on the screen makes it significantly harder to do that because you can kind of disrupt, and he can just go high, stuff like that. I agree that he's worse in doubles than he is in singles, but I don't think he's bad enough to drop to this tier, but I could be convinced otherwise. I think Roy definitely belongs in this tier. I could see Lucas dropping. He has relatively fast kill confirms, even though it's pretty rare he's going to get offense up. But he does still have a lot of kill power. He has 1.5 kill throws, let's call it. I don't know. I'll leave him there for now and then probably reevaluate once I get through the next couple tiers. Once I get through this tier, I think I'll have a better idea of how bad someone has to be to fall to the red tier. Good support characters, I think, are... I'm just going to place them first, and then I will do some kind of ordering. Oh wait, I forgot Peach. Oh shit, that fucked everything up. God damn it. Okay, well I'm moving Lucas to this tier only because I don't want to have to fix my layout. I think Peach is a really good... tank in doubles, but she does fall victim of, not being great at... She's not great at kind of breaking things up because she's relatively slow compared to literally everyone else in this tier, except for Mewtwo, but Mewtwo has telecancel. So I think that is a struggle that she has, and it puts her relatively low in this tier. But she's still an insane tank. She has great hitboxes with things like Nair and down smash, good edge guarding. She can live forever, and is also one of the only characters in this tier that is good at stalling to avoid getting blown up if your teammate is gone. Her and Mewtwo are the two that are really capable of being like, I guess maybe Knuckles too with Clyde. I haven't really seen a lot of Knuckles in doubles. But I think those are the ones that are capable of being like, okay, my teammate is, off stage or they're not able to help me. I'm just going to hang out for a minute and then I'll interact when I feel like it. And that's a really strong thing to have going for you in doubles. So I think she's definitely in this tier somewhere. No, I think tanks belong in the approaching tier. I view the approaching tier as like general frontliners. So I think Peach is kind of, in my eyes, a worse Bowser in teams. And she's significantly worse at doing the same thing, but I think she does fill functionally the same role in terms of Peach is generally going to be out front. She can provide support. She can, kind of follow in behind people, but usually you want the Peach to be in front and kind of taking up space and pushing forward using her float cancel aerials and things like that. You could change my mind though. Sell me on it. So, I think of her as being definitely like a. Approach might not be the right word for this tier, but I think this tier in general to me are characters that can either approach or can hold stage really, really well and force people to interact with them. And either of those things to me belong in the same tier because it's about your ability to set up a zone that your supporting character can then operate behind. And to me, whether that's Bowser and Peach holding center stage, or a character like Mewtwo, Falcon, Ike, etc. moving into space and then taking it, I think it's doing the same thing for a team comp. So that's how I think about it. Let me keep moving people into this tier. Rob is definitely a support character. Diddy, Snake, Samus, Toon Link. There's kind of a theme here. These are the campy characters. Interesting. To me, I think I'm going to put Ness. I think Ness goes in kind of mediocre all around. So I don't know. Peach is weird. To me, characters like that are still distinctly different from a character who is largely reliant on kind of controlling the stage via projectiles and setting up advantage versus actually capitalizing on it and doing big damage and actually physically taking up space. To me, that's what Peach does, and to me, that belongs in the same tier as a lot of these characters, as opposed to, I don't think that Peach is playing the same role in doubles as, Rob or, really, I mean, the only characters in this tier I think she's similar to are kind of Ivy, I don't know. I mean, you might be right, actually. Is Peach... Yeah, I'll move her here. I don't think she's the best at it. I think DDD is fucking insane. But she is definitely up there for this tier. I kind of just moved all these people up without talking about them individually, but I think DDD is stupidly good at playing a support role, but he's also definitely the most versatile character in this tier, except for, maybe Mario, because he kind of can do everything. He is insanely good at controlling space and forcing you into either him or his teammate. Great edge guard, which is really good for doubles. Swallow side is even better in teams because as soon as you're up a stock, you can start going for it. Huge hitboxes, great recovery that is relatively difficult to edge guard and actually get a kill off of in teams because, again, you don't have very much time. So I think DDD is definitely the best character of this tier. I think Peach is... Yeah, I think I've been sold that Peach belongs in this tier. So I've covered Peach already, more or less. Of the rest of the characters in this tier, I think Toon Link and Link are both very, very good because they have a great projectile and item game that lets them just harass opponents. We've seen it really well again with Lunchables and DVD, both doing great. They also have really good kill confirms, and they can do crazy damage if they get combo setups. So I think that they're both really good at doubles. I think Link especially is actually super underrated in teams because he has really fast aerials with nair and back air and up air. Up air is frame 4 and massive and kills. So I think Link is actually really good at doubles. I think this would be my ordering. I think Ivy is a good walling character in teams, but she is significantly worse at it than Peach. She is relatively good close-up because she has some fast options like nair and dash attack, and thanks to the chaos of teams, sometimes people are less likely to be doing the correct counterplay like ASDI down and crouch cancel, or just holding shield against Ivy stuff. The only reason I think she's here and not higher is I think that, especially in P+, the X factor that Beam provides is basically non-existent. The fact that you can't heal between stocks, and that if you're only getting Beam off of charge moves, it is twice as hard to get a Beam in P+, than it was in 3.6, means that it's really, really hard for her to get Beam in doubles unless you get a chance to, get a couple up smash reads or chain grab a fast follow or whatever. And so usually you'll either get no beams or you'll have it on last stock, which can be really nice if you come down to a last stock 1v1 scenario. But Beam is much less of a game changer than it used to be, and I think that really holds her back. She also kind of sucks at approaching. There are a lot of characters in this tier that can go in if they need to. I think DDD and Peach are both capable of doing that. The Lynx can because they have solid aerials, or they can approach behind bomb. Mario has some great approaches. Diddy Kong, Snake has stupidly good aerials. I think Ivy really struggles in the approaching department, so she's one of those characters who does kind of require a character that can create those openings for her, or that she can push opponents into. But she's very good at doing that, and also has great edge guards, and is relatively survivable, much more so than in singles, because you can stall between down air and having multiple tethers long enough for your teammate to clear the ledge. So I think that she is pretty solidly middle of the pack in doubles. Rob he's just a support character. He's just projectile camp the character, as is Diddy Kong. They're really good at that. Rob is higher up because he has a little bit more kill power, better recovery, there's less likely to get him gimped, but they do functionally the same thing. They just make doubles hell to play against. Mario is... I might drop Mario to this tier, but I think he is better than the yellow tier, is the thing. No. I'll drop into this tier. Snake and Samus are similar to these two. They're campy, they're tanky, they do their thing relatively well. They're just not good at things that aren't being defensive, and so that kind of relies on either a specific team comp or a teammate who is able to play around that, but they can be quite good at the right hands. Okay, so this gets us to these two tiers. I think that the okay all around tier, to me, are characters that are worse versions of these guys. They'll be fine in most team comps. They'll be fine in most team comps, but they don't stand out as great at anything. And they either have some matchups or other things that make them inherently inconsistent. So, for example, I'm going to put Falco here because he can be a great support with lasers, good hitboxes. He can go in if he needs to, but he probably shouldn't. So he would be in here if it weren't for the fact that he also dies at 0. So he gets to go in the okay tier. The reason I think that Snake is in this tier instead of specifically above Samus is two things. One, he does a shitload of damage, whether it's with grenades or downers or whatever. Like, he does really good damage very quickly, as opposed to Samus not really being able to have great damage output. And also, the chaos means that if you hit a stick on someone, sooner or later they're going to go in the air. And also, I think Snake is really, really good at, one, at 2v1s, but also, he's just good at, like, getting out of bad situations in a way that I don't think Samus is. Samus has upbeat, and she can mash nair if she's at low percent, and that's kind of it. Snake's get-off-me tools are really good, and I think that really helps when you're a heavy character who otherwise might be getting, blown up in terms of team combo. Now you're getting blown up, and now you're out of the whole combo. So I think that moves him higher than Samus, but not by much. Okay, so I think these guys are here. Mario is like a classic all-arounder. Falco would be in the good support tier, but I don't think he's as good at supporting as most of these characters. I also think that he's inherently pretty inconsistent and is going to get gimped relatively often in teams, because unlike a lot of the characters who traditionally have bad recoveries but require flowcharting, there's no flowcharting with Falco. You hit him once and he explodes. So, yeah, sometimes he'll make it back still, but the edge guards are more likely to happen against Falco than they are against, for example, like DK, who, yeah, you can flowchart, but it's going to take a while, and you don't have that time normally. I think Squirtle is another well-rounded character who falls in here. I think he's actually, like, kind of on the border of getting into either of these tiers, especially in P+, because Water Gun is really stupid. But overall, I think he kind of falls into the middle of the pack, and he can be really good, but he can be quite good, and I think he's good with most team comps, which is nice. But I don't think that he stands out as being very good at anything, which is what he would need to move into either of the green tiers. I think that Ness definitely falls into this tier with a caveat, which is that you put him with a specific team comp, and I think he can be very good, especially with like bucket strats, which are still good. They're just not as broken as they used to be. I've seen him played in a number of different ways, because all of the good Nesses are actually very good at doubles. Baki's great at it when he's a Pikmon. Stereo Kid used to be insane at doubles, and Jose V is also notoriously very good at doubles. And so I think he can fill any role relatively well, but he's still a pretty mediocre character. He still has an okay combo game, exploitable recovery, stubby limbs. PK Fire is a good projectile, but it can also... The fact that it holds people and the fire is active for so long also makes it a pain in the ass for the teammate to play around. So I think Game & Watch can be really good. I think he's generally better as a support character than in a kind of this... I think he would go into this tier. But, I don't know, in general, I think he's reasonably well-rounded. Definitely solid. I'll put him above Squirtle. But I don't think that he's amazing. All of the characters in this tier can be great, especially with a good team comp. But these are supposed to be characters that are either, like, mediocre or reliant on specific stuff. So I think Ness comes to mind as a character that is normally mediocre with an asterisk, that he could be really, really good with characters that can cover his weaknesses. I think that Marth and Luigi also kind of fall into this tier in terms of, like, yeah, they do things. Luigi can provide support, he can cover the whole stage, okay combo game, but at the same time it's like he's exploitable off stage, his combo game isn't very good, you don't have the room to work with that you'd usually like in teams, so that wave dash length can be both a help and hindrance. So overall I think that he's kind of just belongs here. Same boat with Marth, can be good, I think very much relies on team comps that force people to interact with him, so he can be a good walling character, kind of similar to these guys, but he's also much more exploitable off stage. He's more exploitable off stage, gets crouch cancelled pretty easily. A lot of his combos, especially at low percent, revolve around like tech chasing or chain grabs and stuff like that. Even juggles that take a lot more time and space than you typically have in teams. So I think he's an example of a good character who does suffer in doubles because he's just not quite as good as he is in a 1v1 format. I think Puff falls into the exact same boat, but I think Puff is still really, really good in teams just by virtue of being Puff. She's got that X factor of rest. She's got she's got the insane edge guard, she's got all that, and I think she can work with most characters. But at the same time, it's the same reason she's worse in singles than she is in melee. There are a lot more characters that have tools to counter her, and just the game's engine is not nice to buff. Let me see. I think Yoshi kind of falls into this tier. Yeah, I think Yoshi kind of falls into this tier. I'll move him above these guys. We'll put him above Falco too. I think Egg is not the best projectile in the game, contrary to a much misquoted NorCal quote. But he is, he's solid. He's relatively hard to gimp unless, you catch them really slipping with how they use their double jump. Okay, combo game. He's not going to be getting the crazy tech chases and grab combos that he gets in singles, but still he hits relatively hard, has great moves for team combos. Okay, frame data. He's just, overall, he's fine. Yeah, Marth is pretty bad in doubles. Lunchables makes it look great, but that's just because it's Lunchables. It's kind of the same deal with, there's only one good Marth in melee doubles, which is PBU. Yeah, Yoshi would be, if Yoshi was better at approaching, he would be, obviously he'd be in this tier. If I had to put him in a tier, it would be in this one and at the bottom. Because he's okay at it. He's just, not good enough to be there. So I think he just kind of falls into here. And then the red tier is the characters that are good at one thing and or just really damn exploitable. Oh wait, my bad. Pit also goes here. I think Pit goes, here. I'll put him there. Solid recovery, decent combos, good ground speed. Arrows are a pain in the ass to deal with. I think Pit is quite good. Actually, I'll put him at the top of this too, honestly. He's very solid. He doesn't have anything that stands out as amazing. I don't think he's as good of a support as this tier, and I don't think he's that great at approaching, just in general. So he kind of ends up here, but Pit is one of those characters, similar to Mario, where I think you could put him with any character that would be a fine team comp. It would get the job done. Okay, now for the characters that suck. And Lucas, because I don't want to fix my layout. So Lucas, we've already gone over. He does have kill power, which is great. He also kind of sucks in a lot of ways. Not very good against crouch cancel, stubby limbs, exploitable recovery. We've gone over all this. He's not going to get offense up, which is kind of his X factor in doubles, which brings him down in the same way that it does for Ivy. And overall, he can function, but he really needs a character who can help support him, or he just needs to really go off and catch people slipping in order to get big combos started. I think that Kirby is actually quite similar to this. I think that these guys are all pretty similar in terms of they have to be in front. They can't do shit when they are behind their teammate or not being focused on. So if they are not kind of the center of attention, they're screwed. And they're all pretty good at that. All of these characters can hit pretty hard. The problem is just that they're not great characters. They all get gimped relatively easily, except for Kirby. Kirby's offstage is actually still really exploitable despite having 5 jumps because of the fact that his air mobility is trash. Olimar is variable, because if you've got Olimar with purples and yellows, he could probably be very good. Olimar with the correct flowered lineup easily gets somewhere in this tier. But on average, especially given that in doubles things are happening fast enough, you usually won't be getting the right flowered lineups unless you just get lucky. He ends up somewhere in bottom tier. Kirby also has an asterisk in that with the right people on the screen, it doesn't even have to be his teammate. If he's fighting the right opponents, he can get really insane copy abilities. If there's a Falco on screen, he gets short hop double laser. If there's an Ivy on screen, he will get 10 times as many beams as that Ivy, which is just stupid. Some of the things he can get from swallowing people is just comically good. But the rest of the time he's not great. He's too slow to really threaten unless teammates are going out of their way to interact with him, or he's flat out running at them. And I've played a lot against Eudora, who is hands down the best Kirby in both formats, but especially in teams. And part of the reason that even with a Meta Knight on screen, he has to take point is that he can't do anything to support Meta Knight. He's not fast enough, he doesn't have good enough hitboxes, so he has to go in and let Meta Knight support him because there's no alternative, and so that really limits him in doubles. And then, on the other side of the spectrum, Zelda sucks as anything except a support character. If you put Zelda with a character that isn't capable of, going in and taking space, she's not good in teams because, yeah, she has kicks, and those are fast, but she doesn't really have team combos. She has no way to edge guard a lot of the cast, at least not quickly. She doesn't usually have time to set up dins unless there's another character disrupting the opponents and letting her do that. So I think she's really limited, but in different ways. Like I was saying earlier, I think Zelda with a fast character could be quite good. The problem is that on average, Zelda's going to really struggle in teams. Even with a fast character, I would rather be playing Zero Suit or Meta Knight with any of these characters than I would with Zelda. So even if she gets to be in a supporting role, which isn't necessarily guaranteed, I still don't think that she's very good at it. And then finally we have Ices. I don't know where to put Ices. I don't think that they're amazing in doubles by any means. It's very easy for shit to just happen to Nana and then she dies. You're not going to have time to get extended grab combos, so the only time you're going to get fair spikes is going to be if you grab them at or very close to the ledge, because it takes a lot of time and space to get them there. But at the same time, they have a lot of kill power. They can recover from damn near anywhere if they're allowed to, which is especially likely with 4 players on the screen. They break crouch cancel super easily. They can approach with Blizzard and harass people with ice blocks. So they have things going for them. They're not terrible. They're just limited and inconsistent, for lack of a better way to put it. If they didn't have down smash, they would be without question the worst character in this tier. As it is, I think I'm going to put them here, which is to say that I think they are they're more flexible than most of the characters in this tier, and I think they have potential to be good. It's just, they're always going to be inconsistent. They will always struggle with an awful lot of matchups, and especially without having the time to set up Blizzard walls and stuff like that, because there are 4 players on screen. I think that makes their hard matchups even harder. Characters like Ivy, Mewtwo, Zero Suit, for example. And they're not going to have time to pull off the combos that they need to make them as good of a character as they are in singles. So I think that they really struggle in that regard. So I'm looking at this. I'm trying to think if there are characters in here that I'm looking at now and I disagree with. I want it on the record. There's a strong part of me that wants to put DDD in this tier because he is really, really good. But I don't think I can justify putting him on quite the same level. So he does end up in that tier, but I can't understate how good DDD is in doubles. Far and away the character that gets the biggest glow up in teams just because there's so much going on. And he has so many good tools for doubles. If you were to make a character that is what are the attributes you want to be good at doubles, but they can't be fast, that's the only limitation, you would get DDD, basically. He has everything else going for him, and it is terrifying. Who else do I have particular comments on in this list? Honestly, not that many. I feel okay about this list. Yeah, honestly, DDD could be in this tier too. The reason he's not is because I think he's significantly better at support than he is at approaching. But at the same time, he's fully capable of approaching, which is part of why he's here. I've had we'll call it a pleasure of playing against double DDD teams multiple times, and let me tell you, they can approach no problem. I don't think he belongs in here because he's much better at support, but I can't quite justify him going here, which is why he ends up here. I think it's inaccurate to categorize him as better at approaching, but I think there's a clear gap between him and the entire rest of this tier. I think that he's that good. Yeah. The main reason I have this split into 5 tiers is because it fits nicely on my stream layout. I guess now that it's done, I can add more. Let me do that. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Add a row below. Broken, question mark. Game & Watch and DDD. Those two characters are the same. I do genuinely think that these are both characters that are extremely versatile. They're very, very good. They're not as insane as the top 6 or however many this is, but they are very, very good. They fit with pretty much every team comp, and they're just extremely explosive characters that fit really well in the chaos of doubles. I think that I'm debating whether there deserves to be 2 tiers for the support characters. I think these are all close enough to the same tier. I think that the characters that are really good in this tier are also held back by the fact they rely on specific team comps. For example, I think that Toon Link and Peach are really, really good with the right partners, but characters like Ivy and Diddy are much more well-rounded, same with Snake. I think Rob is really good if he has a character that can go in, but otherwise is mediocre as a teammate. So I think these characters end up in the same tier, even though they're potentially significantly different. I think that Peach, Tink, Diddy Kong, Rob all have the potential to be really crazy in teams with the right teammate, as opposed to Ivy and Snake are just well-rounded characters that are better at supporting with any teammate, and they can do that for anyone. Bye, Sub. Thanks for hanging out. Wolf is not fucking nerfed in teams. I didn't bother to order this tier. I actually think Wolf is... I'm going to move Sheik here, just because I think she's a little bit more exploitable, a little bit less versatile. Is she here, or is she broken, or is she broken with a question mark? I don't know. I think she's a little bit more held back from in the top 5. I think that she generally is a better support. She has really good frame data, but I don't think that she can kind of zone break the way a lot of these other characters can. I'm going to put her in this tier, which is Sheik works with any character, and she's very, very good, but she's not on the same level of oh Jesus, I'm fighting a Wario in doubles. You're not getting that feeling when you have to fight Sheik. Although if I'm going by that logic, actually, DDD would be top 3 in this, because DDD in doubles is fucking terrifying. But yeah, so I think that's fine. I want to separate this tier, I think, now that I have a little bit more room, into... I keep doing that. I want to separate this tier into characters that hold space versus take space, because I think that's a really important distinction. Okay. What do I think the best team comp is? I think the best team comp is one that we haven't seen yet, to be completely honest. Double DDD is up there. Manny, if you just got here, you might have missed me talking about this. DDD is one of those characters who is not... If you had to create a character from scratch that is oh yeah, they can't be fast, but other than that, they are comically broken at doubles, you would create DDD. He has everything going for him except that he's big and kind of slow, and that's it. I think Wolf Peach is really good. I think that if the logic I would go with that is that I don't think that Peach is better as a support to Wolf than, let's say, Bowser. I think that Bowser does most of the things that you want Peach to be doing in that team comp better. Not everything. Obviously, Peach is much floatier. She's much less committal, able to get out of 2v1s, things like that. But I think that Bowser would be a much scarier teammate for Wolf, because you can really force people with that. You're trying to get around Laser, and there's like this big ass Bowser in the middle of the screen. I think Bowser's really good at doubles. In terms of the best team comp, I don't know. I think it would be some combination of this top 8 probably, or this. I think honestly anything that is these guys with anyone in the light green tiers would be good. I think that in terms of characters that are in these tiers but like sleeper crazy are like Toon Link, Peach, I think Mewtwo can be insane. I think we haven't seen what Mewtwo can do in teams yet, to be completely honest. I am one half of the best team with a Mewtwo ever, and like the character is really good. He is worse than he is in singles without question, but he's still crazy. And I think that a character that can team well with Mewtwo, I think any of, especially these three, that have the speed to team with Mewtwo would be nuts. So I could honestly see the best team in PM being like a Zero Suit in Mewtwo, or Meta Knight Mewtwo, or something like that. But yeah, really, the fact that these characters are like all completely fine just speaks to how viable everyone is in doubles, because almost everyone is viable in singles, and then you add in the chaos and the bullshit that happens in teams, it's like, oh yeah, everyone here can be really good. I'm gonna go here real quick. I think that there's a distinction for characters that are supposed to be in front versus like that are their ability to hold space versus their ability to actually approach and zone. And so I think that being able to approach into another team is much better than being able to just like hold space. And so I think Bowser is going to move down here a little bit. Even though I think Bowser is really good in doubles, but I think he's a little bit more limited than a character like Falcon or Ike, who can explode into a team and then cause chaos. I think that Roy falls into this tier a little bit. I think that DK falls into this tier, but he's definitely better than Roy. But he's kind of a mix of these two, like a little bit less tanky than Bowser, better at holding his ground than Roy is. I think, in hindsight, I think I put Sonic below him. I think Pikachu's kill power in doubles is nuts. Let me see. What do I think of this list? I think I move Ike up there. I think I drop Mewtwo a couple, just because I think Mewtwo requires a little bit more precision. Yeah, I'll put him there. Falcon is also... Falcon would be at the top of this tier, but he's, as I've been talking about, a little bit more inconsistent, just because he's easy to edge guard and fast to edge guard, which means that, you're usually playing doubles with 3 stocks. What's up, Slim Chang? I'm just finishing this double tier list. I'm kind of curious for your thoughts on Mario, especially, because I know you play a lot of Luigi these days, but I think Mario is like he's just an overall like fine character in doubles. I think he's pretty well-rounded and would work with any team comp, but I don't think that he stands out as being like spectacularly good at anything. But I'm curious to hear what you would think about that, because you are one of the best Marios these days. And have been for quite a long time. Yeah, I think I'm pretty okay with this list, honestly. There are a lot of characters in here that I keep seeing, and I'm like, oh, this character is really good. And then I just remember that everyone in PM is really good, and a lot of these characters could be nuts with the right team comp or in the right hands, but again, that's true for damn near everyone on here except for like these guys, and these guys are still really good. Kirby in the hands of Eudora is half of one of the best teams in the world in Star Allies. But that doesn't mean Kirby's good at doubles, it means Eudora's a god. Icy's could be really good. Ganon, Olimar, Zelda, etc. could be really good, but they're less likely to be good on average, and they require more specific team comps to make them good. But every character on this list absolutely could do well at or even win a doubles tournament, and I think most of them have been really underexplored. I think there's very few characters in this game that have been really fleshed out so far in terms of doubles. I would like to think that Ivy is one of them because I've been working quite hard on that, but there's still a long way to go before I think that character is fully explored in teams, and I think that she could be one of the best supports in the game if developed in the right ways. But so, for the time being, with the meta we have, I think this is more or less what I would say is the doubles tier list. So the best team comps inherently would be any combination of these characters. These characters are a little bit worse, but still, again, work with anyone. And then any combination of either, these guys together or any of these with any of these would be really good. There's so much versatility in TM that, honestly, the vast majority of possible permutations for team comps have never been seen at the top level. So it's hard to say what specific team comps are and are not good, because there's some team comps that just don't have synergy, even though they're both good characters that on paper seem like they would work okay together. But for the time being, with the information we have, I think this is pretty accurate, so I'm going to call it here.